we continue on with what we were doing, talking about earlier, I think that this particular talk that I was talking about was pretty much advanced in terms of what you normally hear. But I did so in order to challenge you to be able to see how far you're able to pick this up. Some of you will be able to go pretty deep into it. Some of you may only scratch the surface, but that's okay. What's important is that you're working on something, and you're working using the right end of the tool. So if we were hoeing a garden, you're using the handle, not the sharp end, to hold on to, and using the proper way to cut through things. And this is important for us because the manners in which we practice and concepts are presented to us oftentimes are backwards. They are a reflection of mind that we're looking at, and not really the mind itself. It is why the ancients were always admonishing to turn the mind's eye inward, meaning that when we do that, it isn't necessarily that all of a sudden, like we had a third eye, now we turn it inward to look inside our skull. It is not in that way. It is to change the viewpoint, to change the perception of mind to be the perception of mind, not the perception of a samsaric consciousness. Now, what we normally use, although it's abnormal, but we believe it's normal, is we use the consciousness of a sentient being and its limitations to view everything. And unfortunately, because of that, it doesn't work well. It's kind of like Disneyland, at least in the California, has devised a way to make more money. And what they do is that they make different parks within the same park, but you have to buy a ticket to each park if you want to go into the park. I think there's 3 of them or so. It's been a long time since I've been to Disneyland. But one of them is a regular Disney and the other is an Adventureland or something. But you cannot gain admission. When we use the mind of samsaric consciousness, especially the human mind, our consciousness and awareness is limited to what a human sentient being can see. Of course, there's some exceptions where people have extraordinary abilities, and some extraordinary abilities come to those who practice deeply, especially in Chan or in Buddhism, what they call super mundane abilities. And those abilities are in some ways still limited to the samsaric world. We cannot normally converse with an animal except to say to them, get out or whatever, but we cannot ask them questions and they cannot ask us questions. We normally cannot talk to ghosts or heaven dwellers or hell dwellers. There are people that can traverse these samsaric ones, but they cannot go any further than that. So our consciousness and our awareness is very, very limited into what we can do and communicate and understand. When we use mind itself, it is unlimited. Now, because we have not been able to completely transcend and completely awaken, those access to that information is still limited, but it's beyond the world of regular samsara consciousness. But at least we're on the right side. At least we're on the side that, in one side, it's like trying to grab sand at the beach and holding it. And then within a short few seconds or minutes, it'll fall right through your hands. It's transient, impermanent. There's no way we can use it. It's an illusion. The ancients used to say it's the horns of a hare, the horns of a rabbit, or the hair on a tortoise, or a castle in the sky. There's no foundation to it. It's just a puff of smoke. So we can't hold anything in the samsaric world, no matter how much we try. And if we get a good run at it, the only thing we can do, if we have the right viewpoint, is to set a course for the next lifetime that we will practice better. Not bad, better than nothing. Sometimes you hear that there's those who are once returners, meaning in the next lifetime, they will be completely awakened. Not bad. So even if you're getting old and long in the tooth, you still have a chance for the next lifetime to be the one that you can do it, but you've got to give yourself a running start in this lifetime. We subscribe as Chan practitioners to the concept of Subitism. This was propagated by Hui Ning, the sixth patriarch. And Subitism is this sudden enlightenment. It's sudden in that it happens suddenly. It isn't sudden that all of a sudden, like they talk about the snap of the finger sutra, it can happen that quickly, but the causes and conditions have to be there. In this particular practice, the causes and conditions have to be there so that we can properly set the stage for that to happen at some point. And realizations come sometimes that way, with like a snap of a finger. Other times it's just like something that you're working on, and it comes through fruition. Today's talk about emptiness has been in my head for a while, and I've been working on it and reading on it, and suddenly it just came like a snap of a finger to talk about it, and it flowed very easily through me. It was so interesting that I was actually paying attention as it was flying by. And so it is sometimes that way that we do things. It's a little bit different than a normal consciousness of a sentient being. So once we begin to identify the usual suspects of everything, it makes things a lot easier in terms of doing that. You cannot be the thief and the investigator at the same time. They'll say, Gilbert, he's innocent. Look at that face. He wouldn't do anything bad. He wouldn't cause the death of himself over and over. How would that work? But when we use the other side, when we use mind, then he's the usual suspect. He's right there. And we have to see that in that way. When we do that, and that was what Shifu used to always say, is in order to get rid of the self, we have to understand the self. So when we begin to understand ourself, now it's like a spider in your house, and you little by little you corner them this way, and you find something to put here, and something on this side and that way, and then you put something on top of them, and then you put something underneath and you carry it out, and you're hoping that it still has 7 or 8 legs, but you release it, okay, and it's gone. And this is how we do it, is we begin to use mind to look at this, round up the usual suspects, self, and work on it that way. If we don't, consciousness looks back and says, you know what? I know that, Lewis and Robert sent us. So they're just illusions. I'm sorry, but you're illusions. You guys have to go. Me? I'm the one that looks and makes a decision as to who's an illusion. No, you're the grand illusion. You have to go too. But it doesn't mean that Gilbert is gone. It's just that we know that this lump of flesh that's called Gilbert is transitory. What runs through him, and this is the part that's very, very difficult for us to understand, what runs through him is the Buddha nature. This is what I realized the last time I was in Michigan, was this, that everywhere you look, you just see Buddhas. I don't see individuals, I see Buddhas. This is Tathagata Garbha, the Buddha womb. And we see that everyone has this Buddha nature within them. Some say this Tathagata Garbha means the potentiality of someone to become a Buddha. I go, please, that's not it. Tathagata Garbha means that all sentient beings have already possessed Buddha nature, but they're trapped in this bottle of their own device and they can't get out of it. And if they practice well, it's why the Buddha dwells in the world. The Buddha dwells in the world in order for sentient beings to awaken. And it's very interesting. They asked the Buddha this, and they went, whatever they call them in the sutras, they'll say world-renowned one or great one or whatever, or Buddha. I'm just thinking, you're here and you're on your deathbed, that maybe you weren't so great because you're dying. But they're confusing the purpose of a Buddha and the, let's say, the commandeering of a corporal flesh for the purpose of advancing the Buddha with death. To continue on would be not natural. How many of you know, and forgive me for my, and if you know who I am and you're Chinese, you can say the name properly. From Taiwan, Guanxin Master. Anybody know Guanxin Master? He lived to be about 120. Robert, can you say his name properly? Have you unmuted him?
I think it's Guangqing Lao Hesang.
Yes. Yeah, Robert confirms. Can you say that again? Who spoke?
Guangqing Lao Hesang.
Okay, I don't remember. I only know him by Guanxin, but that's fine. If that helps other people know who he was a very great contemporary master. He lived 120 years, and I think he died at least 3 times. Well, he died 4 because one of them he fully died. But his disciples and students, they all, when he was dying, they would beg him to come back, come back, come back. And he would essentially throw off his death shawl, like James Brown, if anybody knows the reference, but he would throw that off and he'd be alive again. And then finally, after doing this, the last time he just said, no, I've got to go this time. I can't stay here. To stay here would be an abomination. It would be against nature. So when one awakens, I should say they understand that this body is essentially commandeered for the rest of that existence, but it must be given up because it cannot work against the nature of things. It is, in fact, that very understanding of harmony with nature that is this awakening. So when the Buddha did this, the Buddha then explained that, no, this is not the way that it goes, that there is an appearance of death because there has to be a death, but the Buddha does not die and then is resurrected. There's a confusion in terms of that because essentially it's just using this body, because this body is nevertheless a dream of its own making. How could it possibly be he could be resurrected? We'll leave that to some other religion. But in the way it is, it's important to understand that because it helps us understand what this dream is about. And so when we can understand that, then we don't so much lay claim onto this corporal body and go, wow, I've just got maybe, 30 million breaths left in me. It doesn't work that way. It is something that we understand from the very beginning, that this is simply mind. And we approach it from the mind side. There's nothing to say that you can't approach it from the mind side. Why do you want to continue to, now knowing this, why would you want to continue acting like a sentient being? It's like somebody going up to Superman, right? And they go up to Superman and say, you can continue to be this reporter and this klutzy reporter, or you can accept your true identity, your true royalty. Well, what's that? Well, you are not other than the Buddha, or we'd say a part of the Buddha. Why would he say, well, no, I think I'll just linger around here in samsara? Why would you want to do that? Does anybody know why you'd want to do that? Here's this beautiful meld between science fiction and dreams, which are science fiction.
Is the self a coward?
No, much more nobler purpose.
Compassion.
Compassion to deliver sentient beings. So it's this compassion that brings the Buddha here to this world. But the Buddha does not die. It may physically appear to die, but it doesn't. It is in harmony with this, because all of this is occurring in mind in accordance with Pratika Samappada. It is at one with it. And so when we understand that, this is Ekayana, now that gives us philosophically the reason to utilize the Buddha mind. Simply because we're a sentient being doesn't mean that we can't utilize the Buddha mind. The Buddhas come here to assist in the delivery of sentient beings of an illusory nature. Wow, what the heck? Gilbert are you on drugs or what? Why would the Buddha come? Because the Buddha's in its own home. This is the Buddha home right here. Right there. How do you know? Look around. If you see something, it is the Buddhas dwell there. Why? Because you're utilizing the Buddha mind and the Buddha perception and consciousness to see everything. Other than that, this body is an illusion. The only thing that's real, clearly real, is what one cannot see. The Buddha cannot be known by its 32 marks. How much more of a wake-up call do you need? So we don't get on that boat, go to the other shore. If only we go to the other shore simply to turn around and build a bigger boat to get more to go across, who will do the same thing. It is what makes sense in Buddhism. If you don't, it doesn't make sense. Now, if I talk about other religions, they are easily challenged. Buddhism takes a lot to look at and to try to do that. And oftentimes the scholars who challenge it and say this, Tathagata Garbha is proof that it's a monistic religion. It has a deity. No, it doesn't. Because they do not understand it. They only understand it in scholarly ways. It is not sufficient to do that. One must have the realizations from the practice in order to make it complete. Until that time, we have to have the faith to be able to penetrate. Now, this may give rise to confusion, to fear, to interest, to excitement, and to this interest in wanting to contemplate more. Good. If you have fear, that's natural too. But you just let go. You have to let go. You don't let go of the mind, then what purpose is it? If mind let go of Gilbert, do you know what would happen? Think about this. What do you think would happen if mind let go of Gilbert at this moment? Anybody have an idea? We're traveling on uncharted grounds now.
Disappear?
I would disappear. Eventually, I would say probably within 100 years, I would disappear.
Nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. Interesting. Senda.
When did mind ever get a hold of Gilbert?
But we're talking about what you perceive to be Gilbert. Yes, I understand that. And you all kind of have good answers. What do you think would happen to Gilbert if in this moment there would be no Buddha mind where I am at?
We would awaken?
We would awaken. How could I awaken now? I don't have the Buddha.
The Buddha mind is everywhere. And your phenomena.
Phenomena, and a phenomena without a function and a functioning consciousness would do what? Go ahead. Shalan. You guys are very brave. You're brave bodhisattvas too, because let's think about it. It's very interesting. Go ahead.
No, the reason I say nothing will happen is that, well, with awakened mind, you're still here. The phenomena is still here. It's just that the phenomena actually functions better because it's the Buddha mind guiding through the phenomena. So it actually functions better.
Okay, let's carry on. And Shaolan is a Buddhist scholar and teacher, professor. If, let's say, it could happen, which based on Buddha studies, it could not happen. But let's say that Buddha mind leaves this body. What would happen to Gilbert, the flesh?
Compost.
Compost? You're right. You're right. It could not move. It could not feed itself. It could not breathe. It could not breathe. This very mind, though, would that die, Shaolan? It was never born, so how could it die, right? Now, you see, she's a Buddhist scholar. Compost. That's all I would be. It's just compost. They do. What happened to Gilbert? Oh, he hasn't moved for 5 years. What happened to Gilbert 100 years? Oh, see that spot right there on the ground? That's where he used to be sitting there. This very mind that we use is the Buddha mind. Now, it's like giving a monkey a sports car and showing them the rudimentary ways of how to make it go forward. You could imagine what it would look like by the end of the day. But that's what's happening because we don't know how to drive this body. Of course, some of us do, and you take care, and some people they take care of their body and their exercise fanatics or take very good, but they don't care. I know one person that's a very, very good exercise fanatic, one of my clients, but she's as mad as a March hare. She didn't take care of the mind, but her body's good. So we has to be more than that. We have to use wisdom. We already have it. We just covered it up with a bunch of compost. So we need to use it in the right way. So the Buddha, in fact, did not die. The Buddha just came into this world in order to deliver sentient beings. And again, we say of an illusory nature, because the sentient being itself is not real. It is a dream. But that which occupies that sentient being's body is not other than the Buddha mind. This is what I discovered the last time I was in Michigan. So I have to thank you guys for that, to giving me that opportunity. And so from that time on, wherever I look, I just saw Buddhas everywhere. And it's something that's very interesting. Actually, I had gone to DDM in Taiwan, and there was a big gathering there, and they had all of the Dharma heirs and there at the same time, and they were asking us to speak and to say something at the conclusion of all of festivities. And I was sitting there thinking, what am I going to say? Everybody's saying thank you to this person, thank you to that person, thank you, and all of this. And I'm going, there must be more. Now, this came shortly after I'd had this experience. And it was very funny because the next thing I knew, they were handing me the microphone. And so I started to say, I want to thank, and I was going to say Guo Hui, the Abbot president, but then I stopped and I said, I want to thank all of you. And in my vision, all I could see of the people that were there present in this great Chan Hall overflowing was Buddhas. That's all I saw. And I just said, I thank all of you. You're all Buddhas. You're already Buddhas right now. And I just started talking about what I was seeing in my heart. I don't know if people understood. I think some people at least understood the sincerity of what I was saying. But it was when one has some form of a realization, even a small realization, the world is converted. We still see people, we still call them by their name. I see Anyipan, but I know Anyipan not from his body, but from his heart mind as a Buddha. And you see people in this way, and you see them truly as brethren and sister of the Buddha, of the clan. You see them like clan members. And so it's hard to harm a Buddha. Matter of fact, it is considered to be a very bad karma. How could I harm anybody if they're all Buddhas? The only thing we do is we have an interest to using this body to deliver sentient beings. This is the karuna that comes out of it. So the Buddha did not die. There was not a Buddha that died 2,500 years ago. Where did he go? Did he go to parinirvana? Truly, you think that he would go there and go, okay, fine. And he's got his feet up and a beer in his hand and taking a break. Now, for a Buddha, taking a break could last 2-3 eons, a snap of a finger to a Buddha. But we have to see things in the perspective of a Buddha. We don't see things in this way. We think everything in the cosmos truly is governed by Pacific Standard Time or Eastern Standard Time or whatever. Boy, if I could take you just once and see how infinitesimally small, smaller than a grain of sand, this little pebble that we're living on in relation to the cosmos, and you really think there's a Pacific Standard Time and an Eastern Standard Time and Central or whatever? We have to suspend our faith in the notion of the reality of the samsaric world. We still follow the function in the samsaric world. We still are aware of it, and we have to follow here, as the Bible said, that render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. So render unto Caesar's for the Buddha. If the Buddha undertakes to use the body here, then it has to render onto samsara the body. Thanks for the lift. But the Buddha does not die. I know you guys, you probably already know this somewhere, but you hit it. And I'm just kind of going back to you and trying to get you to see this in my room, because now my room's full of light. I feel like Villa McCready changing everything into this vast emptiness so that everybody can fit in. But I only wish I had that wisdom. I'm doing my best with what I've got, and what I'm trying to do is create a novel approach to get you to understand samsara. Because if you understand samsara, then you'll understand meditation. You will know how to meditate and why you meditate. This is very, very important. You have to be very careful and understand this in the right way. if you can do that, then you can be of use. So this is what I do now, is I'm always scanning, looking for talent. This person can be of use, this person can be of use. And we all join together to work on delivering sentient beings, again, of an illusory nature. But we've got to see from the mind's eye why this matters. Because nevertheless, this is something that the Buddha mind can sense, the suffering of somebody who is caught in a dream, and suffering simply because they're caught in a dream. And it's an odd thing. The other night, for the first time, probably in some years, I had the beginning of a nightmare. And it was like a couple of family members just immediately vanished. And so I knew something was strange in there, but it wasn't a comfortable vanishing. But I brought myself out of the dream, knowing I was in the dream. And I just did recitation. And then I settled down and I was able to sleep for the rest of the night. But I considered that bad dream actually a gift for me to understand samsara again, rather than be in some way where the samsara is controlling me, that I can see that I control it. I can bring it back. I can stop the fear. And this is the way that we approach it. When we approach it in this way, imagine as you're coming to the cushion and you put down the sense of, or the false sense of reality of the samsaric world. And you're just simply in mind. It is a lot harder for the appearances of the samsaric world to penetrate that wisdom. You are sitting in the wisdom of the Buddha, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And you just make that clear and clear and clear by utilizing it, continually sitting clear. And if we go off, we just gently bring it back. And we hold this little flimsy method, so-called method, in front of us to judge it against other appearances that are arising in mind. This is our place mark. If another thought comes up of an activity we have to do, a performance, going to work, taking somebody somewhere, going to the market, we judge it against this method that we've dangled there. It doesn't fit. We give it no mind energy, no attention, and simply return to the method, giving the method enough attention to stay there, but not enough of attention to produce its own spawn of thoughts. Just give it a little bit there. And it is in this way. Shifu, he used to equate this to a big bullfrog sitting on a lily pad, and the lily pad would be subsequent thoughts. But you place this big bullfrog on the lily pad, and you can't see the lily pad because of the frog. And so it just stays there. And you're just watching this. The bullfrog is content. It doesn't have to seek after accompaniment. I don't know if they call them cow frogs, but it doesn't need anything, doesn't need a fly. It's just sitting. And this is how you park thoughts. This is Wunyan. Now, ideas of thoughts, as Shifu would talk about, ideas of thoughts will percolate around you like effervescent bubbles. Yet they do not have the strength to stay in mind, because the mind is fixated on this repeating thought, which at that point then no longer becomes a thought as we know it, which requires a subsequent thought. It's just a place marker. And we just keep it in the present moment. Mind is relaxed. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to chase anything. But something might lure you away from the method. Perhaps a donut. A donut might come into view. And you go, that's just a crummy donut. I don't like crumb donuts. And then they say, oh, really? How about a jelly donut? And you go, well, that's a donut of a different color. I might go after that one. And I haven't had a jelly donut since yesterday afternoon. So it's about time to eat one now. And then now you're off the method. But if you have an ability to keep you back centered in mind, so the central focus of the mind's consciousness is occupied by the method, then this donut may appear in accordance with causes and conditions. Big fat jelly donut stuffed with red raspberry. No, behind me donut, behind me. And you just let it go. You're back with the method. You're just there, back with the method. Anything that comes and wants to stick or linger, you should perceive it like a shoplifter in your store. You don't have any proof that it's stolen anything yet, but the mind attention knows that it's there, but it doesn't give it any, not even a little look. It just freezes it simply in that moment, and it will on its own, like Gilbert's body, wither away, because Gilbert's body's like that donut. It's a dream. I'm not afraid of my body decaying. It's a dream no matter what. So we just practice in this way to keep it steady. This is how you make progress in meditation. If you can't do this, then it's very difficult for us to make progress, because we're practicing meditation from the samsaric side. It's a losing battle, because you're sitting there waiting for the crown to be bestowed to you, that the Buddha and his retinue are going to show up and confer upon you enlightenment. But it isn't in this way. It truly isn't. It's better for you to choose the Buddha. At least if for some reason you fall, you're still in Buddha mind and clear. You're not, that is not an illusion. The mind is not an illusion. We utilize the identity, or I utilize the identity of Gilbert. And if they ask me, do you have any identity? I certainly do. Here's my ID, my driver's license. And you show them there. It was taken on a bad day, but it's me, okay? And you show them your identity. Does that mean that that is the sum total of my value and worth, is that I can establish my identity because I have a picture on a driver's license or a passport? I utilize the body. It's okay. And I can think like Gilbert. Illuminating the mind does not prevent us from having our personality, because that comes in accordance with causes and conditions. But ultimately, we understand that all of these causes and conditions, everything in the samsara world, is an illusion. One of the most wonderful things I had read, and I absolutely love Master Ling Chi, because Master Ling Chi is somebody that just calls it as it is. But he was talking to a group of his disciples and the students, and he said, you know, I've looked for this thing that I've looked for 12 years for this thing that they call karma. And as of yet, I have not been able to find even a piece of it the size of a mustard seed. Very interesting, because we're always talking about karma, right? And causes and conditions. And he's cut right to the chase. Boom. Right to what we perceive to be reality. Because if karma is a thing, then that would mean that all of you would have a separate life and a separate existence. But he, being the great master that he was, cut right to it. Karma is used in a conventional sense to measure what is happening within samsara and the rules of samsara. But outside of samsara, there's no karma, because everything has the same value, which is that it is a dream, impermanent, transient, not necessarily not part of mind. It's just part of mind, like a scrapbook. And you may have a scrapbook of photographs that you have. Some of you have a scrapbook of your wedding pictures. Yeah, when you still have your wedding pictures, you had such an elaborate wedding, so I'm sure you still have it. And we have scrapbooks of our children as they were growing up. And then we have extra spaces. When we get one scrapbook, we have another one, and it represents the future. We don't have to give up any of that. We just understand all of those things are transitory appearances in mind. But we still carry on our function and our identity in this world. But karma does not apply to us, because we know that we're phenomena. But that which is perceiving the phenomena is timeless. It's mind. This is where we have to make the transition to know how we're going to see this, and in what way, and measuring the heart of mind. The heart of mind does not disregard the phenomenal appearances within it. Quite to the contrary, it sees it, and sees it clearly. There is mind here. If I move through it and I see there's mind here, pieces of mind, it's worthy. I could not rest in nirvana knowing that there's somebody that's suffering in the illusion. We could not say, oh, I made it out. I saw that I wasn't an illusion. I had to leave Gilbert behind, but I made it. That's not how mind works. It's not just, hey, I got over, I couldn't bring anybody else because they'd swamped the boat. No, you get a bigger boat. I'm trying to show you from the other side, the perspective of samsara from the other side, for you to make sense of this. I'm really trying and using analogies because it's the only thing that can work. But if you understand this, and if you then can sit in meditation, there will be a value to it. Because now you're well oriented as to time and space. You know where it all comes from. You know what is and what is not, and just this. How could you not make it? It's like shooting an arrow into the sky. It will most certainly find its mark. Wherever it lands is mind. Wherever it left is mind and traveled through is mind. This is life. Everywhere you're going, it's there, and it's following the rules of samsara, but it also follows the Buddha mind. And what is the Buddha mind that it follows? Anybody know? You should know by now. If not, I'm going to tear out my hair. Oh, that's already happened. Okay. What rule does it follow? And it's the major rule. And it's the proof that the world is part of mind. All right, Santa. You know?
Pratitya Samatpada.
No, it's Pratisha Samapada, according to Sheng.
That's the Pali.
That's the Pali, see? I was using Sanskrit. So
It's Pratitya Samatpada, that is Sanskrit, and Paticca Samatpada. Samupada is Pali.
see, no Pali, Vu, Pali. Okay, good. Because it would be difficult for me to unlearn, but then you were right, because I was remember, okay, well, I remember it this way, but all right, fine. No problem. You can still use your Pali. Okay. Lena, you keep flashing on and off. Maybe the sound is from the wind or something, or I don't know if those are real trees behind you or not. But yes. It's hard to know what's real anymore. Generally, if I see people and like I see Chun Wen and he's got like lotus flowers, I have to either figure he made it to nirvana or that's just kind of a fakey background. So, but if I see like a fan or something or a window, then I know it's real. Okay. Okay. All right. Any questions about what I was talking about? Because I want to tell you that there's two channels that are running in today's lecture. One channel is the spoken word, and the other channel is the channel of mind itself. What I often refer to as the music coming from a stringless lute. If you can hear that music, that's worth more than the words. Okay. So that one you can only reach by the heart of mind. But you will get there, and it will be there no matter what. Later on, if you get a realization, you can replay it and you go, wow, Gilbert was playing that tune all the way through. I hear it now. It's good. So this is different. This is what we call the esoteric. Not strictly the esoteric school but the esoteric school of Gilbert's Dharma presentation, which is that which cannot be spoken in words. Okay. Any questions of what I've been talking about? Mark?
I think you've mentioned this in one of the Monday evening lectures. And I don't know if it's a super mundane experience, but over the last few months, what I continuously experience is like a ringing in the ears. It's not due to a medical or physical issue. It's just this background ringing.
I won't say whether it's physiological or not, whether it's tinnitus. I don't see you as like me, liking to play music very loud. But if that was the case, then I would have been enlightened a long time ago. But there are, and I'm not going to say that this is what you're hearing, but there's times when people are able to hear celestial music. It isn't necessarily music from the Buddha, but it's celestial music. And it's very, very interesting that you can hear it. I remember being up and I had a home in the mountains and hearing this wonderful music, kind of like more like a like Thailand type of gongs and bells and things, or something from India. And I thought, this is really pretty. I wonder who's playing that here. And then when I came down to my home in Riverside, I heard it again. And I went, that's not possible. What are the chances of that happening? But if you hear anything, you just put it to the side. It isn't something that is going to lead to any kind of enlightenment. And there's just sometimes there's super mundane things that one can hear. I don't know the source of it. I didn't care to know the source of it, but I thought it was very curious because it was a super mundane kind of a hearing, that it was impossible that that sound could have followed and been there. It was unmistakable though, because it sounded from the distance, but it was so clear, and it was the same pattern of music. So things can happen like that. But again, I invite you to read the 7th volume of the Shurangama Sutra, which talks about these super mundane experiences, and it tells you to not cling to them. If you don't cling to them, it's a mark of that you're advancing in your practice. If you cling to them, then it will destroy you. That's like going on to the Mara side, and you all of a sudden think, well, that's nothing. I can do this, or I can feel this. But as you go along, you'll find that that those things are things that that will happen, but we just begin to see those happening on a regular basis. We set it aside. It's not important, but it's a sign that you're more sincere in your practice. So I do welcome you read that, so that you don't mark it up as something like that it's extra special. In some ways it is, but only if you let it go. And then you'll see there's so many different things like that happen every day, literally every day. And because you begin to see this world not as a solid samsaric world, but as this wavy dream that the power of mind can penetrate through and influence in many different ways. It's absolutely amazing. Okay.
Amitofu.
Anything else that we were talking about? I don't know if this is useful to you, or as I was just putting forth a lot of trashy talk, like Master Ling Chi would say.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
So if you keep saying this is a Buddha world, are there non-Buddha worlds?
No. Everything is created by the mind. So if one goes to hell, that's a dream world, not somewhere I would highly recommend to travel to or to vacation at. But that too is within the Buddha realm. The Buddha realm encases everything. It's infinite. So when we think of it in this way, and we try to put something out further than infinite, then the Buddha comes in and says, and what part of infinite didn't you understand? Right? It teaches you so simply in this way. So I'm communicating something to you, but I'm also communicating something to your heart that hit. So to you, you look at it and you just go, well, that's it. Yeah, just this. in this way? Good question. Yes. Anybody else with a question? Nobody. You must be anxious to get to meditation. So, okay.
Yeah,
Somebody
you can unmute.
unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you are.
Hi. So if everything is created by the mind, right? So in Buddhism, we always have this concept. There's a hell realm, human realm, like different heavenly beings. So we don't see that. It's being teach in the teachings, right? So that's being that kind of concept being feed to us. So which means that's also created by the minds. That's also not true. Is that true? Do you understand my question?
Yes, I do. It's a very interesting one. To say that there's not Buddha realms and places where Buddhas are at would be incorrect, but to say that they're real would be. They still, let's say, could be considered to exist, but not apart from mind itself. It too is an illusion. It's why the Diamond Sutra said that the Buddha could not be known by his 32 marks. And our conception of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are, and Anyipan, I'm sure would who is a Buddhist art scholar, would confirm, are representations of what we believe that this Buddha or Bodhisattva could appear like. And so we revere that. We revere that not as a separate idol, or an idol that we say, okay, that I'm always lighting incense in my altar and presenting fruit. But I understand that those are representations of mind, this very mind that runs through me. And I give it great respect so I can harmonize with it. And if you looked at, for instance, Milafo, and way back, I don't remember how far back, but Milafo was very, very thin. And now Milafo begins to look like me. You know, especially the Chinese. I said, because from when he was in India, he didn't get enough to eat. But when he went to China, wow, he really ate a lot. And the food was good there. So all of a sudden, he's represented as somebody that you can, unfortunately, rub his belly at a Chinese restaurant, and you know, take a picture next to. But is that really the representation of Milafo? No, the Milafo's deep in with this profound wisdom that's there, and it runs right through you. But if one is to say that there are no Buddhas, or there's billions of Buddhas, it is the same thing, but only from the other side, not from the samsaric side. In the samsaric side, we create more images of Buddhas, but in that we create a division. When we give respect to the Buddhas or a Buddha altar, we have to understand that this very mind we are giving respect to, that runs within us, and we have this wish to awaken from this dream so that we too can have that. But to say that the Buddha is someone, and you met it and said, and if you would meet a Buddha now, how would the Buddha be dressed? Do you think he would be dressed, or she be dressed, or it be dressed as a man, a woman, in clothes from 2,500 years ago? It's like, it would be a bummer to meet Jesus Christ you know, and he would be there like this. You know, maybe that might be blasphemous, but it's to make a point that, you know, that's not God in this way. So we look at things and we see it as we give respect to the Buddhas wherever they're at, and bodhisattvas, and the sutras are correct. There's billions. The only thing is that it's hard for us to understand that. Are they real? They're as real as the very mind you're using right now. It's never been created, never been born. It is just awakened. So it can have this Buddha feel of the reward body. And so is the reward body an actual body, or is it something, a construct of our human ideas of what we think the Buddha should be? Well, we really value gold, so we'll make the Buddhas gold. And so we have many, many statues with gold on it, because this is our ideation of something precious, with so many jewels, the precious jewels and lapis lazulis and rubies and diamonds and sapphires, because we hold that as something important to us. But when we look at it, we have to see that. Your question is a very, very good question. Your question is one that I banged against for many, many years in terms of this. How does this work? Why are we doing this? Why are they bothering with these human sentient beings? And I have to say again, it was in my lecturing in Michigan. So I always I give thanks to Michigan that I made a certain realization. And so my question, or my response to your question is one, not to drive you away from those kinds of things, but to try to understand them, to use them as your practice, as your entrance, to see that. And so I invite you to look at that and say, how does that work? Because hold on a second, let me see if I have some. You see, everything's created by a reason. So I wanted to talk to you about this. All right, waiting for your question to come up. And it says, the Avatamsaka Sutra, Huayan Jin, right? Is that how you say it? Flower Adornment Sutra. Describes the cosmos of infinite realms upon realms, mutually containing one another, mutually containing one another. Think about what I just said. Lewis got a kick out of it. Mutually containing one another. How in the heck do you do that? Does the sock on the right foot contain the sock on the left foot, or vice versa? Does that make sense? This sutra was especially influential in East Asia Buddhism. The vision expressed in this work was the foundation of the creation of Huayan school, which is characterized by the philosophy of inner penetration. And it says this sutra is also influential in Chan Buddhism, of course. And in this sutra, let me read you a little bit more and just try to let this kind of pour over you. The sutra expresses the universe as seen by the Buddha, Dharma Dhatu, who sees all phenomena as empty and thus infinitely interpenetrating from the point of view of enlightenment. This interpenetration is described in the Vatamsaka as the perception that the fields full of assemblies and beings and eons which were as many as all dust particles, are all present in every particle of dust. We can't do that here in samsara. Thus, the Buddha's view of reality is also said to be inconceivable. See, I told you. No sentient being can fathom it. And then a scholar noted that the sutra speaks of both Yogacara and Madhyamika doctrines, stating that all things are empty of inherent existence and also of a pure, untainted awareness or consciousness, amalasita, as the ground of all phenomena. So this pure awareness or consciousness, this is what we use to meditate with. The Vatamsaka Sutra also highlights the visionary and mystical power attaining spiritual wisdom, which sees the nature of the world. So this is a direct quote from it. Endless action arises from mind. From action arises the multifarious world, the manifold world. Having understood that the world's true nature is mind, you display bodies of your own in harmony with the world. You display bodies of your own in harmony with the world. So the Buddhists come here, and in harmony of it, they display, and people copy and say, this is what the Buddha looks like. Having realized that this world is like a dream, and that all Buddhas are like mere reflections, and that all Buddhas are like mere reflections, that all principles, dharmas, are like an echo. So all dharma is like an echo. You move unimpeded in the world. Sometimes I say it's like a hot knife moving through butter. You move unimpeded. This is mine. Hopefully that will help you, because I got this out specifically for you. Okay. Causes and conditions never fail. I was waiting for you. There's a few of you have questions. I still have more stuff for. Does that help you? I should help you. Great, great. I'm very happy, because it will move you along and it'll give you bigger faith. The faith is also in that I had that ready for you. How does that happen? Very interesting.
I think I already have big faith, but sometimes this question come up, because like when you see all this like Tibetan paintings, they paint all this like hell, all the different things. I'm like, yeah, then when we read sutras, everything's in there, you describe everything. I'm like, is it real or not real? Yes, sometimes I see it happen in our world, real world, that kind of thing. I see it in the world, but then I don't know. But I feel like sometimes it's because we have this, we know this concept idea, so then we can see that kind of hell, that kind of situation maybe happen in somebody, then I'm like, oh, it's actually why it's described in the sutra is happen now.
Okay, I think it would be good if you're studying Tibetan. Tibetan is very, very good. A lot of what I teach about, Asantha knows, because she studies Tibetan as well, is Tibetan, let's say, in origin, some of the Tathagata Garbha sutras, but you should concentrate on Dochen, and Dochen will make a perfect match with Chan. And if you practice that and practice Chan, you can't miss. The Chan will simplify some of the very complex ideas, but Dochen is very close to Chan. Okay, hopefully I'm saying it in the right way. Do you understand what the word I'm using?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. The word Dochen's typed there from Senta. And so this is something that I don't see in the end a distinction between Tibetan and Chan. Chan, as I'd mentioned, it's like a mockingbird. Does anybody not know what a mockingbird is? I don't know if you have them back east or in the Midwest, but a mockingbird is this wonderful bird, kind of a mid-sized bird, gray with white and black markings on it. But it can listen to the song of other birds and copy it very well. But it has to like the song. And if it likes the song, it will sing the song precisely as the other bird plays it. So that's Chan. Chan essentially heard the Abhidharma, the Madhyamika, the Yogacara school, Huayan school, Tiantai school, all of that flowed into Chan. There's no, let's say, Chan per se sutra. It takes from the sutras and brings it forth. And there are treatises in Chan, but they also echo all of the wonderful studies of everything else, and including from the past, from the future, the Tibetan, and coming into Chan. And it's wonderful. And this is how we should practice. Why I also respect the Lansing Buddhist Association, because they don't make that mark and say, oh, only this can be heard. You know, they let all of the let's say the proper schools of Buddhism in to do that. There's other schools that are a little bit off, that I'm sure I would be very sad if they let them in, but they haven't. They just run in this wonderful way between even Theravadan to all schools. And it's a wonderful thing, because that's the spirit of Chan. So keep your studies going, and anytime you have a question, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Any other questions? No?
Emma.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Gilbert.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. I have a question. I guess I asked you this question in a different form in the past several years. So basically, this question is like, it's about faith. So does faith belong to this side or the other side? This
Faith?
question
Is that
faith.
Okay.
Yeah, so this question particularly confused me when I go through physical difficulties during the meditation, drowsiness or physical pain. In those times, the difficulties are overwhelming, and I feel like faith is very important. But if faith is still subject to causes and conditions, is subject to what I have done in the past, then how can I be convinced that I can generate enough faith to really go through those difficulties?
That's your ego talking all the way. I mean,
yeah.
You have faith in ego more than you have faith in mind. Faith in mind is a very interesting thing. It is and it is not. We have to initially generate the faith, a samsaric faith, a faith that says that with this we can practice. But ultimately, that faith, and it's interesting because maybe one day I should do a class on faith, because there's different kinds of faith. There is this faith that we have, that we bring forth an understanding. It's somebody else's faith that say, Hema, please practice. It will be good for you. You'll get good grades in school, you'll get a good job, you'll find a good wife or whatever, and practice. And you go, okay, I'll practice. And then there's a faith of that you're practicing and reading and studying, and you develop this faith from principle. And the faith from principle is listening, and you say, you know, all of these people, they're all saying the same thing about faith. They're all saying that we have to have this faith in mind. And then there's a faith from your own experiences, your own realizations. And those are the strongest. Okay. We don't practice to try to get one of those experiences, but those that have had that kind of an experience, it brings them closer to the practice. Of the group that's here, how many of you had an experience like that that gave you greater faith to practice? Raise your hand. No, Senta? Come on, don't be lazy. Raise your hand so I can see. Quite a few people, you see. Oh, some people with the yellow paws up. Good. You see, so many people have had this kind of an experience. It's important. That's why I want you to raise your hand, because in that way, people can see that this is faith. They've actually had an experience that has brought them closer. And because we have so many heavy hitters today, of course, if I say that, I know I'm going to see a lot of hands because it's in this way. So you, little by little, you'll have this faith, and this faith in mind will show you the way. And it comes in many, many different ways and different things. There was one of my students that was going to teach a meditation class. And I said to him, essentially, I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but don't teach people to be ducks, you know, or chanbots. I said, if you're going to teach mind, teach right view. Don't waste people's time. Don't waste your own time. I don't care how many people have told you to other people. He said to me, I'm his root teacher. And then there's other people, but I know that other people that he's with, and I know that their level is one that would not want him to venture out and teach what they should be taught. And so I said, as you begin to practice, as you begin to present this, then you get, and I was going to finish saying that this is, and then he put an emoji of a roaring lion. And just at that moment, I was typing lion's roar. And so I hit the button. So it simultaneously appeared with his picture of the lion's roar. This was not by coincidence. It is through this esoteric channel that I was presenting to him. And it was that gives him faith. It gives him faith to say, there's more to this. And so you will get there. Do not judge mind harshly. Do not try to ferret it out, but welcome it. And you welcome it by subduing your own ego, and it will come. I guarantee you it will come. Okay. All right.
Thank
you. Okay. Anything else? So the morning's lecture and this lecture produced a number of questions. I think we have probably, what, an hour and a half left for this session. John Wen, wake up.
We have 35 minutes until a 30-minute break, and then 1.5 hours after that.
Oh, okay. All right, great. So then they can sit to meditate, and then remember, you're having a break right after that, so you can do that. We'll have a 30 minutes. So then I would return at what time then?
So you will return, your time is 1:30. Our time is 4:30 and your time is 1:30.
1:30.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll check the schedule and see how that goes. Okay, thank you. Please meditate. You know how to meditate now. We will later on we'll review the elements again. And if you have any questions about meditation, about your own particular practice, then let me know. And if the wheels are coming out, let me know that too. Okay. Practice well. Amitofo.
Amitabha.